Alright guys, welcome back to Underground Science. In this video we're going to be talking about certain drugs involved in DNA replication. Specifically, there's drugs that you can use that inhibits certain enzymes and proteins of DNA replication. And so, yeah, we should know these drugs. Alright, so let's go and get started. First things first, we should focus on topoisomerase. Remember, as helicase is unwinding the DNA, you form supercoils ahead of it. Topoisomerase does a good job of reducing those supercoils, making it easier for helicase to continue unwinding the DNA. So if you inhibit topoisomerase, then that means you're going to have a bunch of supercoil formation ahead of helicase, which means helicase won't be able to unwind the DNA properly, which means DNA replication won't occur as well at all. Okay, so what drugs inhibit topoisomerase? Well, we should know that there's actually couple of types or a few types of topoisomerase. So specifically in eukaryotes, right? So these are the drugs that inhibits topoisomerase 1 in eukaryotes. Okay, so we got irinotecan, and then we have topotecan. Okay, irinotecan and topotecan are drugs that inhibits topoisomerase type 1 in eukaryotes. Okay. Then we have topoisomerase type 2. Okay, there's two drugs also that inhibit this that we should know. Okay, we have etoposide, and then teniposide. Okay, teniposide. These two drugs inhibits topoisomerase 2 in eukaryotes. Okay, then we have topoisomerase type 4. Okay, so we have topoisomerase type 4. So what drugs inhibits topoisomerase type 4? Well, if we focus on prokaryotes now, right, we have fluoroquinolones. All right, so we have fluoroquinolones that inhibit topoisomerase type 2 and topoisomerase type 4 in prokaryotes. Okay, so fluoroquinolones inhibit topoisomerase type 2 and topoisomerase type 4, so type 2 and type 4 in prokaryotes. Okay, so fluoroquinolones are basically antibiotics, and so some examples that you've probably heard of are like ciprofloxacin. We've also heard of gemifloxacin. And then we've also heard of moxifloxacin, levofloxacin, right? So there's a lot of fluoroquinolones that we can use as examples. But yeah, so these fluoroquinolones are good at inhibiting topoisomerase type 2 and 4 in prokaryotes. Okay, so that's the drugs for topoisomerase. You know how we said irinotecan and topotecan, right? Like if we take topotecan inhibits topoisomerase 1 in eukaryotes. So if we use like us, for example, right, humans, like humans are eukaryotes. So if you use topotecan, why would you use topotecan to inhibit topoisomerase? Because we said if you inhibit topoisomerase, you form a bunch of supercoils, right, ahead of helicase, and then DNA replication is basically like reduced a lot because you can't really replicate DNA properly. If you can't replicate DNA properly, you can't really replicate cells properly. So what's the situation in which we would want to not replicate cells, right, in eukaryotes? So topotecan and irinotecan, all these, right, that inhibits topoisomerase in eukaryotes are used for, like, cancer. So these are like anti-cancer drugs. So it's a good use for them, anti-cancer drugs. All right, so that's it for the drugs. Like, that's high yield. Something else we should know that relates to DNA replication is actually relating to helicase, right? So if you have there's this autosomal recessive condition, so autosomal recessive, and we'll talk about this more in a separate video, right? This autosomal recessive condition involves a mutation in the BLM gene, so you need 2 copies of this mutation in order to get it since it's autosomal recessive. Right, BLM gene mutation. So what this is this results in something called Bloom syndrome, right? And the BLM mutation leads to a deficiency in the helicase enzyme. Okay? So helicase enzyme is deficient. And we'll go over this again in a separate video, but something you could see is like a short stature, right, in a person who has Bloom syndrome. Short stature, they could be really like sensitive, for example, to sunlight, and they could, like, let's say, get a bunch of like skin rashes because of the sunlight, because they're really sensitive to it. You could also see these people, they may be more prone to certain types of cancer, right? And another thing you see is that they could be more likely, or they're more likely to be like have a chance of having a not that good of an immune system. So we'll say like immunodeficiency, right? And so we can keep on going, but the main thing to know is that Bloom syndrome is associated with a deficiency in helicase due to a BLM gene mutation. Okay, and this syndrome is autosomal recessive. That means if you have a chromosome from mom, chromosome from dad, let's say this is the BLM gene, right, in both, you need a mutation. You need a mutation in both copies. So you need a mutation in the mom's chromosome, and then you need a mutation in the dad's chromosome, right? So these are homologous chromosomes, okay? So you need a mutation in both copies of the BLM gene in order to get this. That's what autosomal recessive means, all right? So that's basically it for DNA replication and the drugs involved and Bloom syndrome, clinical relevance. And then in the future videos, we'll talk about more, about certain diseases and whatnot. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in my future videos. And yeah, thanks for watching.